Dariany, you're the food goddess.
Thanks.
So I'm assuming that there's some kind of food in your purpose, right?
I just love to feed people, whether it's like feed them with love, feed them with food. Did you know anything about opening a business?
Absolutely not.
Really?
That's so scary.
Like you had no idea, and your dad didn't either.
Neither. Between me and my dad, we had officially 0 years of restaurant. The best advice you could give anybody is spend as much time with yourself.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how to swim. Y'all bitches are leaving me or no?
You really don't know how to swim?
I'm dead serious.
I would
I'll
just
teach
say,
you.
I would just say, hey, like, why don't you lay out? I'm gonna just run in the water.
Why don't you stay on the shore?
Why don't you learn?
Isn't that
how to swim?
first of all?
No, I will teach you. I will teach you. Yes, it is. You just move your arms and legs.
That's actually true. I feel like it's
very
kinda
easy.
No, it's just at some point, it's certain things you just won't learn in life, like learning how to drive. I don't know how to drive either.
Well, you're
Do you know how to ride a
so it
bike?
makes sense.
Yes.
See, I can't ride a bike,
Yes.
so I can't
No?
judge. No.
Well,
Guys,
I
what's
do.
up with these life skills?
Look, I'm from New York City. We only need to learn how to survive crime, and everything else falls to the wayside.
What about aliens? Can you survive aliens?
Oh, no.
have you heard?
We're gonna talk about
Have you
that.
heard
but
the
first,
news?
I have. Before we get too deep, I do want to welcome Dariany Santana to the couch.
Hi.
She's gonna be joining us in our girl talk.
Okay.
And I want to know: do you believe in aliens?
Absolutely. You think there's a giant universe and we're the only ones that are here?
Yeah.
No.
No, it doesn't even make
Absolutely
sense.
I'm not ready to meet the alien.
But they're not ready to meet us either, which is, I think,
That's
really
why.
Would you date an
They-
alien?
At this point, I have to.
If
I
there's like
think
a
I
six-
dated an alien.
If there's a 6'5" alien,
That's
and he's
exactly-
like
you
no
guys-
trauma, he's coming here in peace. Would you
That's
date him?
exactly what I dated for
Wait.
a whole year, 2 years. An alien. He was
Explain.
6'7". I had no idea what this like being was, but he showed up in my life. You guys,
I don't believe you. Show us a picture.
What are you
no
talking
pictures. He doesn't
about?
take pictures. He doesn't exist anymore. It's like in and out. 6'7", just like very slept like every night you slept like this.
No, I'm
And you would lay
Like
next to this man every
and had-
night?
He had like earphones on that had like this certain frequency
You're
every single
li-
night, and I would be on the other side like this. I'm not joking. Just wake up in the morning.
Why did you
Wake
stay?
up in the morning, because I was so intrigued,
Okay.
and he taught me so much about so many things. And he
Like
would,
what? Like what?
He was a shapeshifter.
About like he wasn't. He was an alien. He was a Palladian.
A
You guys,
Palladian.
I'm not joking. I
No,
can't make this up.
look.
Okay, but how does
I'm
this sound?
actually
Kinda like-
shaking
yeah.
talking about
Kind
it.
of like Elon. How long did you date him for?
For 2 years.
2 years.
And
You slept
did
next
you-
to a man who sleeps like this all the time.
Okay, first of
No.
all, at some point in the relationship,
I
you
didn't
have to
s-
ask for ID. Did you ever look at his ID?
My body's shaking because I feel like I'm not supposed to be talking. Like the Galactic Federation is
Okay.
like, what are you doing?
Galactic
coming.
Federation.
Let's move on.
Did he have a passport?
I do believe in them. Huh?
Did he have a passport? I don't know. Yo,
Yes.
your acting has gotten so much better. I believe you.
I'm using the podcast to practice on my acting.
No,
right
this
now.
is-
no,
this
no,
has
I'm
to-
serious.
Wait, really?
I'm not joking. Ask my family. Ask anybody.
I don't know. I don't know if I
And your
believe
whole
her.
family thought like there was like a sketchy
They knew.
vibe to him.
Not sketchy. Aliens aren't sketchy. He was
They're probably
amazing.
better than us.
He was incredible. He was an amazing human being.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God,
human
we're the
being.
worst.
Yeah.
Humans?
What do you think?
Yeah, if there was a dating app for aliens, I might actually sign up.
Yeah? I don't
Because
wanna
I'm sick
say-
of humans.
I don't
Yeah.
want to look.
I mean, yeah.
I don't like look. I'm going through a lot on the podcast, but I don't think I'm ready to date an alien. They probably have different rules. They probably don't
Different
like loud,
culture.
Yeah, different culture. They probably don't like loud. I'm loud.
They don't make. It's all telepathic. They don't like
Wait a
actually
minute, hold
touch
on.
you.
But do you guys like
Wait,
conspiracy
they don't
theories?
touch? Forget
Or am
about it.
I the only one?
For me, I'm like, how self-centered is that the alien stopped at the United States out of all the countries? It came here first. That's weird to
That
me.
is a good point.
Okay, well, with everything going on the planet, do you feel like, do you have a purpose here? Like the aliens have a purpose? Do you have a purpose? What's going on? What's your purpose, Ivana? I'm nosy.
My purpose, I feel as though I am here to better young lives through sports, art, and education.
Okay, look at
She got
Can
my
we give
vote.
her-
But it didn't come out of nowhere. Like it was kind of like an epiphany throughout my career in my life. Like I've been able to build and rebuild basketball courts all over the world in low-income communities, and I've had the opportunity to like see the impact that just a small amount of service can do on a community, and especially kids. I think kids are the ones that need the most love and the most guidance, and so being able to go to these different countries and see how much just painting a court and bringing basketballs and uniforms to these 30 kids can enhance their lives. Imagine what you can do when you have support and the means to actually make a big impact and like actually enhance communities one at a time. Even though we need all hands on deck. The world's never going to be at peace anytime in our lifetime anytime soon.
With Blue Beam.
It would
Yeah.
be with Blue Beam, but
Yeah.
before that, like you I think that you don't know the power of changing somebody's life. Like, it's not about changing the world, it's about changing one person's world, and that one person can change the next person. It's like a ripple effect through life. So like, don't ever underestimate the power that you have to make this world a better place, you know what I mean? So I think that my purpose is to use my passions, which is sports and art and education, and do what I can with that, just in my little community. And then from there, whoever, you know, can be inspired from that will lead the way.
I love that. And Dariany, you're the food goddess.
Thanks.
So I'm assuming that there's some kind of food in your purpose, right?
Oh, 100%. When I think of my purpose, it comes back to nurturing. It comes back to being maternal, even though I'm not a mom yet. Yeah, I love to just cook for people. I just love to feed people, whether it's like feed them with love, feed them with food, you know, so metaphorically feeding them and literally feeding them. Because
Who taught you how to cook? Or how long you been doing that for?
oh, since I was a little kid, my mom worked pretty much every day. So when she came home from work, she'd also cook every day. So she wanted to spend time with my sister and I. So we were always in the kitchen with her. So she'd have us like chopping the sofrito or cutting olives. So it was always in the kitchen with her. And yeah, I just started cooking, I think when I was like 10.
So what's your go-to plate? Like, if there was like, if the people were like, show us what you got, what would you cook for them?
I made it yesterday, arroz con pollo.
Arroz con pollo?
Yeah, for sure.
Arroz con
Because
pollo.
it's just like home. It's the most homey meal, and then you make it with like plátano maduros and aguacate, and it's just so flavorful, and it's like, it's also, you make it in one pot, so
You're ready to get married, by the way.
Yeah.
I got that
If
a lot.
you're ready to get
That's what they
married,
say.
I can
It's, like,
feel it. I feel it.
certified,
I mean,
like-
are you single? What's up?
Yeah, are you single?
I am single.
We can help you find
I mean, put
your
it out.
purpose partner.
The aliens.
Your purpose
Put it out.
partner. So then when did this? You started cooking. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you're a host and you've been in the game for a long time. So when did you kind of like direct your attention to just cooking? And now, if nobody knows, she has her own restaurant in New Jersey that's been getting a lot of accolades and a lot of like, you know, recognition. So when did that
Thank you.
shift for you?
So I decided when I was 24, I wanted to be a TV host. I had like this epiphany, right? So I started
And the
doing.
personality.
Thanks, pumpkin. And then I started doing it. I got an agent short after, and she was like, listen, you need a niche, because nowadays there's very few Ryan Seacrests of the world. They're just like, I'm a host that hosts a show. It's like, I'm the HGTV guy or the Guy Fieri food guy. So I immediately knew it was going to be food. And then I'm very much like a hit the ground running. You told me that, okay, what do I got to do? So I did like a food vlog and immediately started changing my socials to food and food-oriented things. 6 months later, my dad approached me and was like, I want to open a Cuban restaurant.
Wow.
I want to borrow money from you. And I was like, I thought about it for a second. I was like, oh, I'll give you the money. I was like, but I want to be the co-owner. Well, for many reasons. One, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, right? One, it was like any opportunity to make my parents' dreams come true, I have to do. Two, I had the foresight. I was like, this is what's going to enable me to really be a voice in the food space. It's not just like, I love food. It's like, no, I own a restaurant.
Like getting the recognition and people actually validating it, you know?
Well, that's,
you can say you're an actress, but you have nothing to show for it. People are like, oh,
Yeah.
she's an actress.
well, and that's
But
the thing
having a
too,
restaurant-
you know, as a female, as a minority, I've always had to kind of go above and beyond to prove myself, and I've been vividly aware of that. So I knew that I was like, okay, you can't tell me nothing, right? I open a restaurant. And then, yeah, lastly, I just had the foresight, and I knew like this was gonna propel me to do different kind of food shows. And yeah, and I also just knew like, to have a restaurant with my dad, it's now 2 generations that are, you know, 2 heads are better than 1. 2 generations are better than 1.
I mean, so we have a young entrepreneur in our hands right now. And did you know anything about opening a business?
Absolutely not.
Really?
So scary.
So
Yes,
what? So
not
an
a
entrepreneur
damn
means
thing.
like someone who starts a business with knowing there's like a high risk of loss.
If that's what
So,
it is, then that's
like you
what
had
I am.
no idea, and your dad didn't
Me
either.
neither. Between me and my dad, we had officially 0
So
years
entonces,
of restaurant.
¿Cómo lo hicieron?
Una
Yeah,
locura.
that is so hard. Think about, okay,
Where did
so
you
like,
even start?
Even just think about like
No, it's
everything that
insane.
goes into it, like just down to the location, the vibe, the colors, what kind of like logo, where you're getting your
There's
food from.
so
I've never
much.
obviously opened a
No,
restaurant,
it's like
but
actually,
there's so much.
It's objectively insane.
So where did you
Oh
start?
my God, that's insane.
No, it's
How many years?
We're about to make 8 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
No.
that's incredible. Okay, so how did this start?
Okay,
Where
so
did
let
it
me say.
start? The
All right,
vision.
so because my dad, somebody came up to him because they had a failed restaurant in that location. Now, this is why I say it was objectively a bad idea. Opening a restaurant is one of the most high-risk industries in the world. I believe it's 50% closed within the first year. Like, the numbers are insane. That particular location, there was always restaurants in and out. It just wasn't a good location. To reiterate, my dad and I had zero experience in the restaurant industry. I worked one day at one, and then I left because I had an anxiety attack.
Oh my god!
I know. No, it's. I'm telling you, it's like insane. Also, my dad didn't notoriously have a good track record with businesses. Hence, why he was trying to borrow money. Un desastre. No, I'm kidding. What's his sign? September 25th. He's
Libra. A Libra.
Yeah.
Whichever you guys say.
That's a cause. He's a Libra. He's a Libra.
But yeah, so anyway, long story short, which is impossible because you're going to still get the long story. He had that location already, and initially it was only a certain amount of money. I gave him that. And then he just poured everything into that business, man. Like, I'd never seen this side of my dad that was amazing at decorating. Like, if you go to my restaurant, he killed it.
I want to see.
Can I ask a transparent question? How much?
You can ask whatever the hell you want.
Can you give us a range of like what that amount was?
So I initially gave, I don't give a shit. I initially gave him, I want to say it was just like $15,000.
Okay, 15 is cute. 15 is cute.
To start the business? Well, he
Yes.
already had the location. Like, he owned the location.
No.
Oh.
We rented it. So that's how it started. It was just figuring things out. I mean, you mentioned the logo. I designed the logo. Shout out to my high school Photoshop teacher, Miss Wilkinson, because let me tell you, I have gotten so much worth from her class. I designed the logo. I designed the menu. You know what it is? It's so hard for me to sometimes take credit and for being like ballsy and doing that. Bruh, my grandparents came from Cuba with $0, with zero knowledge of the language, and made shit happen.
You've done so many like incredible different things, and I think in each of those lanes you were fulfilling some sort of purpose.
Oh, for sure. My purpose for a long time was making my parents proud and making my parents happy. But I need to fill my cup, and I need to be the happiest, because that's what's going to allow me to be the best version of myself.
Wait, I know I jump around because I'm a Gemini, but I didn't get to hear your purpose, Jessica.
Oh, yes. Okay, wait. It's funny because I know you guys asked us this like off screen or off camera. You're like, okay, we're gonna talk about our purpose, and I sat there and I thought. I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna say? Is it that I want to be a mom one day? Is it that I want to inspire the world? And then I was like freaking out about it because I was like, what am I gonna say? And then I realized, sometimes you're just figuring it out as you go, and that's okay. And I think I am right there where I am like, I don't want to feel so much pressure on putting myself in like this one thing of like, this is my purpose. It's like I've had different purposes along the path, and I've fulfilled some of those as my mind changes, my desires change, my purpose changes. So I think for me, like, my purpose is I figure it out as I go. If I feel like I can make an impact in that particular project, in that friendship, in, you know, that situation, I'll do it. And if I don't, then I won't involve myself. So that's kind of where I am, because I do feel pressure sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, what is my purpose? I think your purpose is something that you will continue to fulfill as life goes on.
Yeah, it evolves.
You know,
right?
it does evolve.
The more you learn, the more experiences, the more like knowledge you have, you're able to even better make a difference and know who you are.
Yeah.
How are you gonna know your purpose if you don't even know who you are?
Yeah, and we do put
what you
pressure
like
on
or what you
ourselves.
want.
Yeah, because you're like, everybody's fulfilling their purpose. They're opening up a business here, doing that, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's my next thing? Like, what am I doing? But sometimes it's like, look around, smell the roses, you know, enjoy where we're each at.
Yeah, and I think the better thing is like, what's your passion? Like, what do you love? Because then from there, that's where you can really figure out some sort of purpose, like how you cooking.
Yeah,
I think everybody here has multiple purposes. I know yours isn't just food. Like, you're first off, you're a comedian as well. You do. Like, she does so many things. She didn't even talk about that.
Wait, why are you making that face? You're like,
because you've done stand-up, haven't you?
Yeah, it's fun. I love it.
You've done stand-up. You've done so many like incredible different things, and I think in each of those lanes you were fulfilling some sort of purpose.
Oh, for sure. But you know, it's funny how we were talking about your purpose changing. My purpose for a long time was making my parents proud and making my parents happy.
That's what you were doing it for.
Yeah, and for the record, that's a beautiful, humble thing. But last year taught me that no, it's 100% about me, and that's not egocentric, but it's I need to fill my cup, and I need to be the happiest, because that's what's going to allow me to be the best version of myself. But ironically, in opening my restaurant, I kind of killed two birds with one stone. But yeah, I think it's beautiful that our purposes are malleable, because that's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to flow.
Yeah, I feel like being on this I think I talk about it a lot. Like being on this podcast, I always had like a vision of what I wanted my career, and then I started doing this podcast. I'm like, I really enjoy getting to know other people, and I really enjoy like a lot of what this podcast is for me, and why I love being on here is because in my stand-up I explore a lot of like relationship things, and I want to help women. I want to help women get in the right relationship, even though maybe I should help myself first.
You're like, I should take my own advice.
But like for a long time, I've been screwed. No, don't play like that. I've been in a lot of bad relationships, a lot of bad friendships, sometimes my own fault. We talked about that, I think, earlier. A lot of abusive relationships that I've overcome. And I'm like, when I first started like learning about stand-up, I learned in my early 20s. I was like, wow, like this person's saying everything I have on my mind. So I want to be that person for other women, where I'm like, you don't have to be like me. I make a lot of mistakes, but I don't want you to be in an abusive relationship. And that's for me like where I kind of like, I want to serve women in that way. And even men are also sometimes in abusive relationships. So I want to help people be better at like being in healthier spaces.
And you know what else I think you're so good at, honestly, is that you put yourself out there, flaws and all, 100%. And you own it, and then that makes other people look at you and be like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I'm not that crazy, or like, you know, people really relate to that. And I think that's so beautiful, because it's not easy putting yourself in the crossfire.
I've always been okay with being self-deprecating. I learned that word when I was working at a restaurant one time, and this lady was like, oh my God, you're self-deprecating. I'm like, bitch, what does that mean? And it was like, I was like, oh yeah, like I always put myself in the fire. What I wanted to say, not to like be all like super sensitive, but I think that you've taught me how to be more kinder. Like, I know that you talk a lot about God, and I'm like, even like when we first started doing this project, I was like, yo, like maybe it has inspired me to explore my relationship with God. So I think that you have something there, Jessica, where it's like, you have helped me. I'm like, I see the way that you live your life, and like you're blogging everything, and I'm like, I want to explore that part of me of like, how can I be a little more kinder to myself and to other people? I'm not saying that I'm like this horrible person, but I could be a little bit more like, you know, kind. Yeah, so I'm just saying you taught me. Like
Thank you.
I think that we're all teaching each other things.
That's the thing. Yeah, for sure. And for you, and I wanted to ask you this because I know you come from a hosting background. I'm also a host, and I know we've been in the hosting circuit for a while. Like sometimes, like in the past, there'd be times where she would hear an opportunity and throw it my way, or like vice versa. You have to support at the end of the day. You as like somebody in the industry, when would you like? How would you decipher whether an opportunity was for you? Whether that was like whether the environment is right, because you want to make sure the people are right. We were even talking about this in the green room. You're like, you guys are lucky. You guys all genuinely get along. Because it could be horrible getting on a podcast with like people you genuinely don't even like, or you know, it's just bad energy.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I really just am in tune with my gut.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like cliche, but it's really true. I think all of our knowledge lives in our body. And I just trust myself.
Yeah.
You know, because the second I hear something or I walk into a space, if I'm like, this doesn't feel like it aligns. And sometimes it's hard. Like sometimes it's hard saying no to things because maybe it'll pay pretty well, but if something doesn't feel right in my body, I'm like, Also, just saying no is one of the most powerful things you can do.
Have you said no to really, really big opportunities because it just?
I've said no to things that I'm like, this doesn't feel fully on brand for me, or.
How do you know how to trust yourself in these circumstances? Like, how did you learn to trust yourself?
It's like anything else. It's life. We're nothing but patterns and repetition, right? So if you are faced with a small decision to make and you confidently make it, and you're like, oh, that felt good, and you keep doing that and you keep doing that, we're just patterns. That's all we are. Humans, we're not that complicated. So because I've trusted myself in the past, I know that it's going to work. Also, I just fully know that everything is always going to work in my favor. I'm completely like I can't be negative. Like I just know life is rigged in my favor. But it's so crazy because saying no to that decision allowed me to like book something dope that would have been on that same day. Like, yeah.
I run a lot of shows, right? So like I do a lot of live comedy shows, and a lot of the times when you do a show, people like put you in a brand and like they know you for that. So when you walk away, they're like all up in your business, like, why did you walk away from this? And I remember walking away from a project earlier last year. I was like, yo, was I dumb for that? And you know, you have multiple goals at once, and one of my goals was to go viral, not because of like vanity stuff, but like I feel like it means stuff to other people. So I walked away and I was like, damn, like I fucked up my entire career. And the next day I went viral for being Rihanna, and I was like, okay, well maybe there's another opportunity. Like there's what I'm trying to say, when one door shuts, that's such a vanity you know thing, but like when one door closes, there's always another opportunity somewhere else. And I feel like it was God saying like, girl, you don't need to attach yourself to this brand because you have your own stuff going on. So like, I don't know, like I just had a lot of things in comedy where I was like, yo, did I just ruin my career by like, did I burn this bridge? And like these careers that we have, hosting, acting, doing stand-up, they're very much relationship based. So like if you rub somebody the wrong way, you're like, damn, I messed up. And I'm like, what's not for you is not for you. And I'm like, you don't have to be for everybody. You don't have to do everything. And like you said, just trust the fact that you got this far. So you're gonna still, whatever got you this far, just know that there's more to come.
Plus, you know, you're doing this thing that we do all the time. They're like, oh, did I ruin it? Oh my God, is it the worst?
I do it all the time.
We
I'm like,
always,
I do that all
our
the
brain, and that's
time.
because our brain's protecting us. Our brain is like, let's make sure that it's oh my God, it's the worst thing. Whenever has it been as bad or worse than what you imagined? Never. You're always like, oh, actually, that wasn't that bad. Always.
So true. That's what fear is. It's like our brain protecting us.
It's our
right?
brain being like, well, let's imagine the worst possible scenario so we're prepared for it.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
literally never as bad. So it's like, why don't you skip that step? Because
Right.
you're just lowering your vibration and feeling like a poop.
Yeah, I was lowering
just
my
not do
vibration
it.
OD. I was like, oh my God, I messed up. But speaking of vibrations, do you feel like entrepreneurship is very spiritual? Because I feel like it is. Like it's, you know, I guess we all like are on different paths, but for me, I'm like every choice that I make in my career, like I know that, I remember last episode, you're like, what are you doing with your laptop? But comedy's not work. I know that you mentioned like very,
Wait, what?
No, I know you mentioned like,
didn't.
I've never really been on vacation without my laptop. So
What are you doing on your laptop? You're a comedian.
First of all, there's a lot of admin. Yo, motherfuckers always want to play. Sorry, sorry. Well, I have receipts.
Jess, remember when you
I
said
defended you. Somebody was like, "You're doing work," and I'm like, "On."
Oh, it was you.
And then I
I never
defended
said
it.
that.
Yes.
Don't
yes.
put me in it. I'm trying to stay in my zone right here.
Okay, look.
I didn't say one
I
word
was
the
like,
whole
she's
time.
working. She's writing her comedy.
All I'm saying is that. See, now I lost my
that
train of
stand-up
thought.
is real.
No, there's
and
a
it's
lot
real
of
job.
like, there's a lot. I consider, even though I'm an artist, I still consider the business side of stand-up, which is like, you know, getting paid and like booking, relationship with the clubs and all these things. And there's a lot of, and I just feel like it's a spiritual thing for me where it's like, the path that I'm on is very like, there's something bigger than me working at Plate. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Okay. Sorry.
It's like, what are some things that you think entrepreneurs, like the mindset that they have to have in order to have a successful business?
Well, okay, let's bring it back to 2015, right? Because that's
how
when
it
it started. Not that you do have to be crazy, but you do have to just be like, no, I'm gonna win. And that's something that I knew going in. And again, we had literally everything going against us. What's crazy is right before we opened, I remember I walked outside of the restaurant and right next door was like a little beauty shop. And one of this viejito, this old dude, was sweeping up and he's like, listen, I gotta be honest with you. I've seen restaurants open and close. Restaurants don't last more than 3-4 months here. He's like, I don't wanna be negative, but I just wanna let you know that. And I was like, I just wanna let you know that we're gonna make it years. I was like, matter of fact, you wanna bet $500 we'll be here after a year? He still owes me $500.
Why was that being a business like that?
I mean, listen, I don't think he meant it in a bad way. I
He was
really
probably just
don't.
trying to genuinely look out for you.
Yeah, because honestly, it was the truth. But I'm like, you don't know who you're talking to.
I hate when people put their limitations on you.
Definitely.
And I think that could be a business thing or your own artist. Like, oh, that never happens. I used to get that a lot when I first started stand-up. I'm like, me and my God, we're good.
Yes.
So yeah.
And I think you just have to really believe in yourself so much so that anything that anybody says just falls off of
that's
you. Like
why.
I was an actress. I'm investing in myself. I mean, I don't know what the future holds. I just know in my heart that whatever my dream is going to come true because I'm not going to give up and it's going to happen. I mean, I was living in my parents' house a year ago, just sitting there doing my auditions every single day. My dad would be like, what happened today? I'm like, it's coming, Dad. I'm going to get this one. Every time I made an audition, go into the bed. Like, Mom and Dad, like, they would help me run lines. And then all of a sudden, I was like, don't worry, guys. Dad, can I borrow some money to take acting classes? She's like, of course. I'm like, I'm an investment, Dad. Trust me. One day I'm going to get it back. He's like, I know. He's always supported me. I owed them so much money for helping me get this far. And I finally moved out. And I finally have my own spot. And I'm finally growing. But you have to really believe yourself and, like, take a risk on yourself. because that's the only way you could learn. And if you fail, you fail. You fall, you fall. But that's when you actually learn how to build yourself up.
And I wish, I know that not to bring it back to boys, but I wish I had that same mindset with a guy. Like if he's not super excited about being with me, it's a no.
You
Same
will
thing with,
have that.
No, I know.
I'm just
Look,
saying,
I
you're
love-
saying I
yeah.
wish. Your words
I
are so
will.
powerful.
Thank you. I will.
I don't even believe in the word failure. Like I don't really think it, because to me a failure would mean that whatever you wanted to do didn't come to fruition and you didn't learn anything from it. I've learned from every single facet of my life. So would it, you know what I'm saying?
I learned more from
Like,
like,
but
lesson.
for example, failure, when you're younger and you think everything, like a ticket's the end of the world, an accident's the end of the world, you don't know better.
Getting
So
fired
like
from your
I got
job.
fired. Okay, when I was 17, I worked for Red Bull, and one morning I didn't wake up, and it was like my first job. I was so excited. I love sports. I love Red Bull. I was gonna go, and I lost my phone. Like I was out the night, I lost my phone, and I didn't wake up. And I didn't make it to work, but I got there like 3 p.m. I was like, I'm so sorry. And they were like, go home. We'll give you a call later. And I was like, okay. My heart broke a little bit. I was like, okay, I'll be fine. I'll go tomorrow. It's not a big deal. They call me. They're like, it's no call, no show.
No call, no show.
No call, no
I've
show.
had a few of those.
I never even knew that existed. I'm like, what is no call, no show? Like my first job. I was shocked. And my dad and my mom were like, what happened? I was like, I just didn't wake up. They're like, but then the next week I got my first interview as an intern for Fox Sports through a random serendipitous thing. And that opened my eyes to the corporate world of Fox, and I worked there for 7-8 years. So it's like when I thought I was in the worst place in my life, I would have never had the opportunity to interview as an intern and never be where I am today. So don't worry about the little mishaps, because sometimes it's what leads you to your dreams.
And you knew
coming
for the
true.
Fox thing, oh, I have my phone, I have two
Yeah, you
alarms.
woke up
Oh
on
yeah,
time.
I was
time.
never late. I was like, Mom, wake me up. Dad, wake me up. Like,
Exactly.
I even the birds wake me up because I'm not missing this. So you just become more
You
responsible.
become so much more responsible. This doesn't have to do with career, but I don't know if you probably don't know, but I'm like, I was building out a van so I could like travel the country, and I got broken into it twice before it was built. Yeah, before it was built. Like, and that like, and this was before I was gonna like hit the road, hit the country, and like travel in it, and like actually live out of like this tiny home on wheels type deal. So those two very traumatic situations where I'm getting like 2 times 1 week, everything's stolen, like crazy people going in of my van. I feel like that was God preparing me for, if you're seriously so set on traveling the country in a tiny home on wheels in this van or whatever, you need to double, triple check the locks every single time, add extra protection. It's a crazy world out there. There's crazy men, women with really bad intentions. I know you live in this bubble and you think nobody's gonna hurt you, Jess, but no, there's a lot of evil out there.
Definitely.
So I think like, again, like every mishap, not even just in the entrepreneur space, I think every mishap just in life is preparing you for something, even relationships. It's like,
Right.
okay, that's a red flag. I'm gonna avoid that next time.
Can I
or
tell you one of my
whatever.
red flags in business? If I have an idea for something and I say, let's say, oh my God, we should do this, and the person hesitates, it's a no. Like the answer should be like, yes, I want it. Like, I know that sounds really bad, but like the way people respond just lets you know that person's not ready. And I know that not to bring it back to boys, but I wish I had that same mindset with a guy. Like if he's not super excited about being with me, it's a no.
You
Same thing with,
will have that.
No, I
'Cause
know.
I'm just
Look,
saying,
I'm
you're
a-
saying I
yeah.
wish. Your words
I
are so
will.
powerful.
Thank you. I will. There's a man out
Remember
there.
how you
Yeah.
asked before about our purpose, and you were saying that people give limiting beliefs? I think
Yeah.
my purpose is the adverse of that, which is I want to infect people with my, like, like you can do the hell you want. Don't argue with me. Like I feel like that's my purpose. No, okay, I don't know. I'm changing my answer for the test today.
No.
That's
no,
what-
yeah.
No, that's because that's
as
really
you
it.
started with your business, did you take any classes or read any books that were going to enhance your knowledge on?
Well, let's take you guys to when the business started.
Yeah, let's finish the
Because
story.
now,
Sorry.
no, just because we are, 7.5 years later, and now I can say it's successful. But when it first started, oh my God. First of all, the first month that it opened, I lost 10 pounds, and that's not great for me. It was because my anxiety was debilitating because it was real. And I wasn't just opening a restaurant, I was opening it with my dad. So the stakes are like, yeah, sure, like my money, what I invested, but it's like, oh my God, if this doesn't work, then my dad has failed again. So no, I didn't take classes. We just thugged it out. Yeah, no, but and for the record, the first couple years were really, really, really hard.
So you're on Google and like, how do you do accounting? How do you do like, you know, all this, like, are you Googling
So what
it?
are the things that you've learned
and just
that
doing it?
You're just doing it.
what are the things,
doing it.
some of like the nuggets that you could give that equal a successful business that you know you should have prepared or that you should do while you're in it?
Well, for me, and this is just how I approach life, right? Because even though I'm like a TV host and all those things, that's still a business. Yeah. So one thing that was really important for me was to save a certain amount of money. You know, I don't come from our background growing up. Money was not great. So I knew growing up, I'm never going to deal with financial stress, right? So I always kept my credit good. I always saved a certain amount of money. So that's good because it enables you to have less stress, you know?
Did somebody teach you how to budget like that?
Oh, hell no.
It was just trial and error?
What?
Trial and
No. In fact, one of the worst memories of my life was I tried to open a United credit card. It must have been 2016. Because I was like, yeah, I want to get points with all the money I spend. And I'm like, I know my credit's popping. Like, why wouldn't it be popping? It wouldn't be popping because I forgot that I had opened a Home Depot credit card for my dad. And he maxed it out, both cards. So that was really hard because I was like, my biggest fear growing up was bad credit.
And your credit tanked after that.
Yeah, because I think it was only like $6,000, but that you got to talk like that on purpose because that's like, you know what I mean? You got to be like, well, it's only $1 million. But
But you live and you learn. It's like how.
I learned that
Especially
day. I grabbed his credit card and I was like, I will no longer just help you financially. I had to really learn that because it was a boundary the lack of that boundary was really affecting my mental health.
Yeah. You're like, I'm cutting this credit card up right now.
Yeah. Oh, literally I was like, I don't care. I paid it off. Literally, I paid off the full $6,000. I know, balling out of control. No, because I was like, first of all, I'm like, I'll never have bad credit. I'm telling you, like, kids grow up being scared of monsters. I was scared of bad credit as a kid.
I think
It's a real thing. I feel the same way.
Yeah. Oh no, like that was because that's one of my biggest traumas is a lack of money and the instability that comes from that. I know the stress that causes. So I knew as a kid, nope, never gonna deal with that.
So what are you doing to maintain?
Well, I'm really good with budgets.
Okay. How did you become good with budgets?
Excel sheet?
I'm cheap. No.
Are you like an Excel sheet type of girl?
Not really. It's more the one really good advice I got from my ex-boyfriend was to live below your means, and I did that for a really long time.
I need to do that.
What does that mean exactly?
So living below, and he told me this. We must have been like 19 or 20. He said, live below your means. So if you make $10,000 a month, in your head, you make $7,000 a month. Yeah. You always live poorer than you do, right?
Okay, so what are some money tips, girl? Because let's say Ivana books a great movie and she gets paid $30,000. How much of that should go into savings and how much of that?
Well, here's the thing. It all depends on where you are too in your life, right? So for the first, it's just a
I know it's so like
it's a nuanced answer because
yeah.
In my 20s, living below my means. That's what it was for me. I saved hella money. But now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, I've worked hard. I've built these foundations. Now it's time for me to spend more money and treat myself.
More? What are you
Oh,
spending
absolutely.
on,
that is so responsible.
But because I'm now leaning into the feminine energy more. Before I was more my masculine energy, like the hustle mode. But now I'm like, no. Now it's time that the universe is going to bless. We can talk about whatever you want.
Okay. I want to know what made the shift between more in your masculine, because I relate to this a lot. In my 20s, I was so in my masculine energy. I was like, career, work. I don't want a man. I think a lot of that was like the narrative that was around me. Now I'm like, me. I'm more on my like feminine side for sure. And I think a lot of females are feeling that way. Not all, but I've been seeing that a lot, at least with my own friends. I'm like,
well, because it's not sustainable to just be one, right?
I
think, so last year, I have a word for how to explain it. Every year has a word. It started happening in like 2019. My word of last year was balance, because I realized my balance wasn't off. It was off, and when my balance is off, I don't feel good. And I was like, oh, I need to balance out this masculine and feminine energy because I am innately very feminine. A lot of my masculinity comes from being raised on the East Coast, being raised in a neighborhood where you have to protect yourself, all of these things. So yeah, it was just like, how do I reach this balance that's going to make me feel the best with how I'm living my life? Because I was like, okay, you saved them. I'm like, no, it doesn't make sense.
Do you feel like when you're in your entrepreneur vibe and you're like working at the restaurant or you're answering emails for people trying to book you, are you more on your masculine, or do you feel like you could still kind of stay on your feminine energy doing that?
Definitely with restaurant stuff, I switch a lot more to masculine, especially because it is with my family. And here's a thing about working with family is those dynamics that are already established within the family flow into that business. So I have had to do a lot of healing so that I like really ground myself before I enter the restaurant or before I like talk to my dad, because I immediately want to revert back to old Dariany. That's like, I'm controlling everything. I'm doing all these things. And now I'm just like, no, that's not who we are anymore. So that's why like I feel bad that I can't give you like I can't give you like a practical response in terms of if you make $30,000, because I don't like telling people exactly what to do, because it depends on where
like how much you ever
are.
saved already, like how much you have invested in assets. I know it's such a like nuanced answer.
Well, because like for some people 50,000 is enough, for some people 5,000 is enough, you know, and for some people what makes you feel safe is different.
Yeah,
like the best advice you could give anybody is spend as much time with yourself. That's the those parts of yourself that you love, the parts of yourself that you hate, because then you're gonna when you have that love with all parts of yourself, that's when you'll like really know what you want to do and how you want to live your life, and you're gonna want to protect yourself. You know?
I have a question about masculine, feminine energy. I feel like one of the things that I struggle with a lot as a woman in business is negotiating. And I feel like sometimes I think I'm doing a good job, but then I feel like, oh my God, what if I got played? Have you ever felt like, it can be from the restaurant or the hosting side, where maybe you felt like you didn't negotiate because you were scared or something?
Amazing question.
Advantage of.
This is an amazing question, because we notoriously, specifically as women and a lot of times as minorities, we will often lowball ourselves. And it's really because we're like, oh, well, I should just be grateful I have this job. And or oh my God, if I ask for this much money, they're gonna give it to someone else. We do that a lot. Right? So my tricks for that is, first of all, I immediately got an agent, because I was like, I don't want to deal with this. For a long time, I was my own agent, and I'm like, I hate this. I hate having to be the one that's like,
this is my worth.
That's so hard.
And it's like, we should advocate for ourselves, but I don't want to. No, I really don't want to. So getting an agent definitely rectifies that. But really, what I was saying before in terms of being like, I didn't negotiate well enough, or I could have asked for more, that's like a lack mindset, meaning like, well, if I ask for too much, they're gonna want someone else. That energy sucks. That ain't it.
Do you know that time in your life when they're like, well, what's your rate?
Oh, girl, do I know that?
And you're still in the early phases of how you feel about yourself and what you can offer. And even though you know that you're experienced and you've done the work and you put the work in, you still are like, what's my worth?
No, I hate it.
Should I ask for a little? Should I ask for too much? And that was a really hard time for me. Like, your daily rate. What's your daily rate? And I asked everybody, well, what's my daily rate?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, and then say, what's your daily rate?
Yeah.
In my head, I would think this amount, but I would never. Who knows if they would accept it?
It's so
But
true.
you have to ask for what you think you're worth.
And it's crazy because even if you look at it from things from social media, or even like a makeup artist, they're like, well, you're only working for an hour. Why are you charging that much? Or it's only a post. Well, it's taken me 10 years to build this community.
Expertise.
10 years of just posting, working, putting myself out there, but, you know, dealing with online bullying, like 10 years of this. That's what you're paying for, is like a genuine community that you're going to be, you know, posting your brand to, or even just something like a makeup artist or somebody that does nails. Well, it only takes this long. Why are you charging that much? Well, it's taken me 10, 12 years of working experience for me to do that in that amount of time, 1 hour. You know, you're paying for the experience. And I think that's sometimes what we don't remember is like, no, like, and as a host, it's like, you're not paying for just me hosting for an hour. What you're paying for, like, literally the 10, however long amount of time you've been in that business of experience and being able to think on your feet or whatever.
And not just that, the preparation you do before getting on set. You're studying as an actress. I mean, for an audition, I'm doing my hair, I'm buying an outfit, I'm studying 3 days before the audition.
So much.
I'm hiring somebody to do my self-tape, to read with me. I'm driving an hour to the valley. This is like $300.
And you're not
for
even
an
accounting
audition
for the
that
time.
lasts 2 minutes, if not one. that you never hear back from.
Yeah.
So it's like people, it's a lot more than just what you see. There's so much like history.
Even food, right? Like
And
even
food
like
too.
a plate of food. It's like you're paying for the rent, electricity, the supplies, the labor, the cleaning of all the plates. Like you don't even think about that. I don't think about that when I go into a restaurant.
Oh
sometimes.
man, that's such a, I hate when people are like, I can't believe how expensive this is. I'm like, have you not noticed how groceries have gone up? Do you think that restaurants are not? That's a big thing with me, because we've had to obviously raise our prices in the past couple of years, not more than once, because obviously inflation.
Wow.
And people have the audacity to complain. I'm like, first of all, you got a kitchen at your house. Why don't you cook? That's always always an option. That's always an option.
Oh my god.
Look at me going into my masculine. It's right there.
It's okay.
He's
It-
right.
the
He's
masculine
right.
is ready.
He's
Oh,
right there.
If you could go back in time when your dad first moved here before he embarked on his business, what would you tell like your dad's younger self?
I would give him all of the words of affirmation that he didn't get as a kid. So I would just like fill him with so much love and confidence and just be like, regardless, you are here on this planet to thrive and you're gonna thrive.
One thing I would commend you, I cannot work with my mom. She is worse than Experian credit report. She will be in my inbox. Do this, do this, do this. She's so annoying. Like, I just can't. But I
That's
really,
the me
I
in the
appreciate,
relationship.
yeah, I appreciate that you're able to put the family trauma. I think that's really beautiful, like to start a business with your parent. I would be the kind of daughter that would give my mom money and let her just leave me. I just can't. My mom, and sometimes even friends, like, there'll be times when you have a vision for something and you're like, I want to bring this person with me, and they're slowing you down, and you have to let them know, like, yo, like I got into a big ass fight. Sorry, can I say that? I'm sorry, I'll be cursing.
girl.
I have this residual fight with one of my friends because we started a comedy show together, and for me, I'm very big on ROI. Maybe the ROI is not that.
What is ROI?
Oh, return on investment.
Oh.
Do you guys know that? Oh, that was
First of all, I thought you
that's the-
said why. I was like,
No,
who's boy?
ROI should be in the SEO of this title, but ROI is the return on investment.
got it.
Is the amount of energy, money, is that coming back to me in some shape or form? For me, because I'm still in my very young infancy stage of comedy, I'm like, what's important is that, are we selling tickets? Did I get to build a new set? You know, all of these things that matter to me. So we were throwing these shows and people were not coming. I have other shows, but for that show, people were not coming out. And I'm like, yo, like, I love working with you. I think that you're a great friend, but no one's coming to the show. I'm not going to keep putting my time to produce a show that nobody's coming to. So we just have to let it go. And she did not take that well. She's like, you always cancel all these projects that we have. I'm like, I love you, but there is no income coming in for this project. So God canceled this, not me. You know, like, it's not even about eating in the beginning when you're starting off. It's about, like, I have to, for me, it's really important to build shows. Like, I'm building shows for my community. So, like, the show that I have with my best friend Sasha, Mori Soñando, it's a legacy show. Like, I want people to always have something to come to while I'm all over the world. And I'm like, this show, I want to work with you, but we're just not getting along. Like, you don't get it. Like, when I don't feel like, some people are a little bit more emotional in business than others. And when I don't feel good, nobody could tell me what to do. And I know that I have poor teamwork skills, but that's just me. And
I think that's really great, and I think that can go into picking the right team.
Yes.
I was gonna say, you're not supposed to
Picking
work
the
with
right
everybody.
marketing
Yes.
team, picking the right creative, picking the right CFO, like whatever it is, like.
Not everyone's for you.
Yeah.
No, but at the same time, they're experts in their field, and you need to trust that.
need to trust
and
them.
you are in your field, and they're doing their thing. You can't do everything, but you
Yeah.
could choose the people that you think are going to be really successful in
On
their
the same
jobs to
page.
make your business better. I think that's a big entrepreneur thing to have. I don't know yet. I'm guessing,
I had to learn that because again, my dynamic with my family was me
you're like,
being
let me
more
put
of
my
a-
grandma on the cash register, and it's like,
grandma,
no.
stay on
Yeah,
home.
you need to recognize people's strengths and
Yeah.
weaknesses.
Some people just gotta send checks too. But we are
before-
some amazing Jefas.
Yes,
Are we
and
doing the
before
same
we
thing?
ask, I have one more
Oh.
question for you because there are some amazing Jefas that we want to highlight. But before we do, I do want to ask, if you could go back in time when your dad first moved here before he embarked on his business journey and all the ups and downs of it, what would you tell like your dad's younger self?
That's an amazing question because I feel like I'm faced with my dad's inner child a lot.
Yeah.
I would give him all of the words of affirmation that he didn't get as a kid. Yeah. So I would just like fill him with so much love and confidence and just be like, just know that regardless, you are here on this planet to thrive and you're going to thrive.
Where's the oh, they're right here, girl. Every episode. Here you go, baby. I love that. I really do.
Shout out to your dad, man, making it happen now. So many ups and downs, you know, trials, tribulations. As an immigrant, that's what it's about. Like, no excuses. Get out there, work, fail. There's no such thing as failure. To your family, you guys get back up every time you learn those lessons. So
Never give up.
Freaking dad.
Never give
And
up.
this conversation kind of makes me think about my dad is an entrepreneur. He's like so mysterious about it. Sometimes like, yo, what are you like? Teach us, whatever. But you never know what your parents are actually going through day to day.
No, yeah.
And sometimes we got to step outside of ourselves. So I really appreciate you opening up and sharing that with us.
Beautiful.
We want to shout out some Jefas of the week. So we couldn't do the entrepreneur episode without shouting out some amazing Jefas and bosses that are doing their thing that we look up to as well. I want to shout out Priscilla Ono. Priscilla Ono became Rihanna's go-to makeup artist. You know, I love me some Rihanna.
Yeah, that's
and
you.
Fenty, right? That's my sister.
Is she your makeup artist?
No, I would love to work with Priscilla in the future. I would love to be in a Fenty campaign, manifesting. That would be good for the brand.
Yeah.
That would be good. So yeah, she's Rihanna's go-to makeup artist and Fenty Beauty Makeup's global artist. And she followed her passion to get there when she dropped out of college at the age of 20 to pursue makeup full time. Her Mexican immigrant parents were not pleased, and her grandmother didn't speak to her for 2 years until Priscilla appeared on these parents be doing the most. until she appeared on television doing makeup and giving makeup advice. Today, she's also pursuing her other passions in fashion, teaming up with plus-size fashion brands. Ono's story is a testament to listening to that voice inside, guiding you to follow your passions, even when others can't see the vision.
That's
so shout out to
amazing.
Priscilla. Her makeup is always on point.
And then we got Jenny Rodriguez, a stylist who worked her way up in the world of celebrity fashion, from working at Power 106 radio station to styling for E! News and becoming Beyonce's assistant stylist. She says it's important to be patient, enjoy the journey, because everything that you go through is meant to happen that way for a reason.
What's crazy is that when I was working at Power 106, I would see her there all the time. Like, she was always the best vibes. Aww. Like, it's so cool to see everything so many years. Like, you really start from, someplace. Look at her go. Mm-hmm. You want to take this one, Dariany?
Oh, I'm doing it too. How exciting. Okay, this is Desi Perkins. She's a Mexican-American beauty guru and the founder of Desi Eyewear and Skincare. From vlogging in early days of YouTube to developing 2 namesake beauty brands, Desi has not only been a beauty mogul, but also an inspiration to women suffering through infertility, which she has openly spoken about before finally giving birth to her first child at 36. Yay!
Love that. There we go. And this is actually my homegirl, Daniela Legarda, and her sister, Maria Legarda. So they actually founded something called Hermanas at the Table. So they throw these awesome events. They've partnered up with Meta. I've gone to a couple of the events where they just honestly bring really, really dope girls from Los Angeles, Latinas. You guys definitely need to come out to one of them just to get together. And again, she just kind of stands for the community. She does fashion. She's dope. She does makeup. Her content is amazing. So make sure you guys follow them. They're awesome. Amen. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. What did you guys feel like you guys took away from this conversation?
Oh, there's just so much. One, that I feel like we're all on the right path. So I love that. And I love that we all kind of have the same kind of, just the way that we approach things of everything is let's think of it positively, like we are going to win versus thinking about what can go wrong. But from this conversation, I took that I should really, maybe I don't know if I will ever go into business with my parents, but really, no, I'm just being dead ass. They are a lot. But something I talked to my dad about is also what are we gonna do your legacy? How are we gonna pass? He has a trucking company where he distributes chips certain supermarkets, super dope. And I'm how are we gonna pass that on to someone else? Don't just give your years of hard work to keep it in the family. So I want to have a conversation with my dad about that. So that's what I took away from this episode.
It's amazing. I think for me, honestly, I've, my parents moved here, Mexico, Colombia. I want to build wealth, y'all. I need to get better at saving, at budgeting, start a business to where when I'm asleep, I'm making money. It's not I have to be putting in time to get money. That can be tough sometimes. When you're only making money while you're putting in time, why don't you let your money work for you? So I would love to get
passive income, everybody. Let's
I need
go.
to get to that. Yeah, I don't know
we
what
are
my business is
manifesting
gonna be,
passive income.
You need to pray.
I think I learned that if you do have this vision or an idea or a dream, to go for it, even if you don't know the first thing where to start, you and your parents. If you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, laying bricks down, you learn as you go. And if you have a passion for it and you never give up, something's got to give. Something's got to give, baby.
Eventually.
And if you believe in yourself, it'll happen. Who's going to tell you no? You create your reality. So I think that's what I got out of it. What about you?
Any last words, girl? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just like you said, love getting to know different people and seeing the different journeys that everybody's on, and just hope that everybody like feels really good after this and like feels inspired, and just know you can do whatever the hell you want.
Hell yeah.
Don't
That's
listen
right.
do not listen to the haters.
You say, girl, let me tell you.
Girl, let me tell you, you
Right.
can do whatever you want. You're on this planet because you're meant to thrive. Like I was gonna tell my dad's inner child.
Yeah, I
You're
love
here because
that.
you're meant to thrive.
Huh?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Give us your Instagram so we can
Sure.
stalk you.
At Dariany Santana.
A lot of yummy food is on there.
There's so
you
much
guys.
good. Oh my God.
Seriously.
And now that I'm here in LA, I'll be watching her food. Like, you go to food restaurants and I'd be looking for recommendations. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go eat there.
All
doing the Lord's
foodies
work over
need to
here.
Follow her for sure. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Girl Let Me Tell You. I'm Jessica Flores.
I'm Glorelys.
I'm Dariany.
I'm Ivana Rojas, and this is...
This
Girl.
We need to work on that.
And this is just take one.
It'll come.
That was so sloppy.
Yeah, we were like, oh.
Let's do that again.
Yeah.